You're very welcome to this new initiative, the Irish Political Roundup, and Competent Men Ireland are delighted to be joined by three legends of Irish sport and Irish football in particular. I'm delighted to be joined by three of the founding members of the Irish Professional Footballers Benevolent Association. I'm joined by Martin Lawlor, who's of course no stranger to us here on the Irish Political Roundup, to former Shamrock Rovers player and League World legend and more importantly former Kilkenny City manager Pat Byrne and Mick Byrne, who also played for Shamrock Rovers and a host of other clubs as well. Gentlemen, you're very welcome to this joint production of the Irish Political Roundup and Competent Men Ireland. Firstly, Martin, we'll start with yourself. The Irish Professional Footballers Benevolent Association, for viewers out there who wouldn't be familiar with what it is, would you just give us a little outline?
Paul, it's great to be here.
Yeah, you're welcome.
It's great to be in the company of two people who would have been at the very, very centre of the platform on which the Irish Professional Footballers Benevolent Association is built, Pat and Mick. They would have run a precursory scenario, a support scenario for Jacko McDonagh, who, like the other two lads themselves, a legendary Shamrock Rovers player that Pat and Mick played with. Unfortunately, Jacko fell upon very, very difficult times, and Pat and Mick and a whole lot of other people involved with Shamrock Rovers jumped to the rescue. So the association, the Benevolent Association, is standing on the shoulders of that fantastic effort to help Jack. And out of that, we, as a committee, as a collective committee, we have been able to legalise our status with a chairman, Harry McHugh, myself as secretary, and Mick Byrne as treasurer. And more importantly, even than the three of us, is the fantastic committee that we've assembled around the country. And it's been quite a difficult year. First year, we kind of formulated last February without any resources other than people's time. And for the last year, basically what we've been doing is we've been building the platform, Paul, the structures, the people, the strategy in terms of how we will go forward and meet the criteria across three particular areas that will take time to expand out. But the three particular areas are people who are struggling through medical needs, etc. That area is going to be supported by Dr. Alan Byrne, who will run a subcommittee on the assessment of people. And there's a lot of people out there struggling, a lot of ex-players, male and female, I might add.
Yeah.
And Dr. Alan Byrne will oversee a kind of a subcommittee of the committee in the assessment of people who are in fairly desperate situations, and they will receive support. The other area moving forward will be in the psychosocial mental health support area, and then the third area eventually will be in the back to education area for ex-players. So again, I would come back quickly to the great work that Mick and Pat done in the very, very start of the seed of this idea.
Okay. Pat, you obviously were a legendary player for Shamrock Rovers. I remember looking at a thing during COVID, and a lot of ex-Shamrock Rover players of a certain era, when they were picking their best 11 that they played with, you were smack bang there in the middle of midfield. For our viewers who wouldn't know who Jacko McDonagh was and the type of player and character he was, could you give us an idea?
Sorry, just broke up there. Yeah, Paul. He's who he was. He was a great individual. He was he'd played for us in the 4 in a row. He was a centre half, a very cultural, like Martin there, lovely, very comfortable on the ball, and but he could tell you how good he was as well. So don't want to be wrong, but he was he was great to have around. He was great company, great bit of a laugh. Loved going out and about, and but what a player, a smashing player. And unfortunately, he was living in France. He came home here to have his 60th birthday, and we were all looking forward to it. And then, unfortunately, he got sick. So, yeah. So he's wheelchair bound now, and he will be for good. And he had the stroke he had. He's paralyzed down his left hand side, so he's in a bad way. But we so when we found out about it, we were, instead of going to a 60th birthday party, we ended up trying to organise some ways to raise some funds to make things comfortable for him, give him get him into a nursing home and be well looked after. And everybody in Rovers got behind us and things like that, and it was great. And other clubs as well have been absolutely fantastic. Up Dundalk, we've gone through, we've passed through Bowls. Everybody has kind of helped, and it's been great support from everybody. So when we got that, and we helped them out, and we did as much as we can, and then Bray were fantastic in another fundraiser. We did that for them, and then we had golf outings as well. So we did all those bits and pieces, generated a few quid for Jacko, and got him well looked after. So we were pleased about that. So so that's how it really came about. So I'll let Mick tell you a bit more story behind that as well. So.
Yeah, and Mick, you're the treasurer. You're the man that's kind of looking after all the money. I suppose the aim is to be able to fundraise and to be able to help people, former players who will be in a difficult situation with some expenses. That's one pillar of it, I should say.
I got handed that job of minding the money as such. It's a difficult one to do, but look, it's something that we needed to do after the Jacko scenario. We got together, just a couple of us got together when Jacko took sick, had a stroke, ended up in the hospital, and we worked probably the last 2 years. We've worked on getting them some money in. It's quite hard to do that for everybody. Yeah. And we are now in a situation where we've set up the Benevolent Fund that might be so much easier on people that have running functions and stuff like this, where some money will be there if anything does happen to anybody. And of course, you have to pass the criteria of we're talking to Alan Byrne, and there will be a criteria there for people to pass to if they were looking for to with the hospital or an operation or something like that. We'd hope to have the money there for them to do that.
Okay.
But we did go to the FAI at the very, very start of this for Jacko, and there was nothing there. Benevolent Fund had been gone, and had gone a long time. So quite a few of us got together after the Jacko and decided that let's start this, kick this off, and try and help people. As I say, it could happen to anybody. The situation that happened to Jacko was terrible. I kept in touch with Jacko over the years, and he was to come to a game at Shamrock Rovers, and it never happened. It never happened. He had a stroke while he got home. He was living in France. He got home and had a stroke back there. Never recovered from it. He's in a hospital or a home now at the moment, and we just done our best for him. As I said, I'd say we probably raised in a total of anything from 50 to 70 grand for him, I'd say.
Wow.
By didn't count it up around because it was different things happened. We done a golf classic. We done a question and answers night. We done a football game. So there was a fair amount of money raised, but it probably wouldn't be enough to keep Jacko in a home for the foreseeable future. So
Yeah, so there's
we'll be hoping that the Benevolent Fund will help Jacko and help many more that fall victim to this. So
and
it's
Mick,
important that
have
the
you?
younger ones know
Sorry.
that play football, that League of Ireland footballers, that that would if we get that going now, that it's there for them when they get older. So that's hopefully what's going to happen.
And speaking of kind of current and younger players, have you do you interact much with Stephen McGuinness in the PFAI on this?
Yeah, we spoke to Martin. Might know a little bit more about this, but we did speak to Steve McGuinness, and we have put it out there, and it's going to take a while before we can actually get in touch with every player that's playing League of Ireland. We're trying to get in touch with every ex-player at the moment, so we've a lot of members at the join, and hopefully, we'll get more members as it goes on. This is only kicked off in the last year or so, so it's going to take us a while to get it really up and running. So, as I say, it needs to get out there as much as it can, and we need to get to talk to all the players that are in League of Ireland. Some people, when I started off in League of Ireland, I never even thought of anything like this. That something could happen to you when you're 40 or 50. It can happen to you when you're in your 20s, but 9 times out of 10 it happens to you when you're in your 40s, 50s, and 60s. So this is where what we're trying to do is get it up and running, and hopefully we'll end up with everybody that plays League of Ireland that will join in as a member, and then the money will be there for people that if it does happen to them, and it'll be there for players that are playing nowadays.
Absolutely, and players now in the League of Ireland, I'd say if you compare to your day, it's like it's completely different world that they're in full time. A lot of them are in full time professional setups. It's their full time job, whereas you guys might have been technically part time, but the effort and the commitment was full time. But would you have loved to have seen something like this around in your playing days?
Is that me?
I can put it. It's open floor.
Sorry. Go ahead, Mick.
Pat, you want to say something there?
No, I may say I would have loved to have happened years ago, yeah. But Mick and myself were lucky enough. We played full time, and so we know what it's like. But the players here, they get so well looked after. It's fantastic, and to be able to train every day and do something that you love is fantastic. So no, fair play to them, and I just hope things get better for them. And we're only kind of a small little cog, really, of kind of looking after down the line for maybe them in the future. The players now, they're probably getting decent money, and down the line, when people get a shock when they finish playing football, and they maybe have nothing to fall back on. So the big problem, that's going to be a big problem down the line, because we haven't encountered that before, because we weren't full time. So down the line, we're going to see a lot of problems, I think. And we will need to probably get a lot of money together to be able to kind of help in any short, small way with them, really. But that I think, is going to happen down the line, because players get used to full-time football. And then when it's gone, when you get older, it's very, very hard to get set an ordinary job, or get, going to, 8 to 5 or wherever else like that, where you're probably doing 4 hours a day with something you love, So that's going to be difficult.
Yeah, exactly. And for anybody, we're at any level, when you have to call it a day, it is it is a big deal for any sports person to have to retire, as they say. And Martin, I suppose that can have an impact on people's kind of emotional and kind of their well-being in the sense, because a lot of their identity can be kind of wrapped. If you're a full-time athlete, a lot of your identity is wrapped up in being that athlete, and then you're no longer that athlete. So that can create its own challenges then.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest problems across all sports, all professional sports, from athletes to tennis players to golf players to professional team players, Paul. And it's a very, very common problem of dealing. What we have a term for it when the lights go out, and that
Exactly.
encompasses the floodlights go out when there's no calculation, when there's no more radio interviews, there's no more clips in the paper, photographs. So under the umbrella of when the lights go out, it is a very, very difficult transitional period, as Pat quite rightly alluded to, in terms of transitioning from what was a huge part of your life into becoming an ordinary citizen, as it were. And that is a massive, massive problem. And in talking to and taking advice and guidance, very helpful advice and guidance from another association that we sought your advice from, they asked us what we thought was the biggest issue that they dealt with. And we know from experience that some of the issues that come up are maybe maybe alcohol related due to depression and what you mentioned, Paul, some challenging emotional and mental health. And we mentioned a couple of other things like gambling and maybe some abuse of other substances. But we were very surprised to hear the answer that they gave us, that the biggest problem that they face is isolation.
Yeah.
So it speaks exactly to what you said a moment ago. And that kind of took us back a little bit and brought home a huge reality of what we're dealing with. And of course, out of isolation falls a huge number of sub areas that people need help with, men and women.
And also, from having a look at your website, there is going to be a social element to this as well, because I know you're dealing with kind of very difficult, circumstances with people. But there's also like social side for people to get together that haven't seen each other in years.
Yeah.
Talk about, oh, sure, you remember going down to Daly Mountain when we had to change out and that, or when it was last rain or something like that, or getting warmed up in the car or something like that before a match. All those kind of funny stories, and going for a few pints after the match and things like that. So there is, there's a big, from what I see, there's an important kind of social element to what you're doing.
I think that was amply displayed, Pat. If you want to take up this point at the women's cup final event that we staged, in the Maldron and Tala.
Very nice.
Yes, that was a fantastic day for everybody, especially the women. They hadn't seen each other. I don't know, what was it, Martin? Was it 20 years or something? 20 odd years.
Yeah.
And in fairness, we'd organised with the FAI to organise tickets for us for the day, for the match, so that they'd all have a ticket and they could all sit beside each other, because one of the biggest problems was when they'd go to a function, there hadn't been many functions anyway, but when they were at a function, they were all dispersed all over the place. So they didn't really make it a full day. So we were conscious of that, and we had them for a meal beforehand. Well, it wasn't meals, tea and sandwiches and things like that. And we presented who was that, Martin?
Knowing you, who was the first captain of the first international team.
Wow.
Yeah. So we celebrated her inaugural captaincy of the first recognised ladies international team, and what a joy it was.
Incredible.
Travelled up from Galway, and
wow.
Just remarkably, Paul, out of that, by all reports, the level of contact between all the girls who played has risen by multitudes
Massive. It's brilliant.
of contact. A lot of them in contact and going out and socialising and having a cup of tea and meeting and talking about old times, and exactly what Pat alluded to again, that whole social inclusion part of really coming to the fore out of that one event, and we have many other events planned of that nature, social events.
Absolutely, because I'm sure you have a good few in the pipeline. And Pat, you made a very good point there as well, that you have a lot of players now in the League of Ireland in particular that are going into full-time setups. They could be in it for like 20, maybe 15, 16 years, then they retire. Now it's like what happens next, because they're so used to being in that full-time setup. It's about what you do next, what you have to fall back on, and it's fantastic that there are more full-time League of Ireland, which is great. You are right in the sense that this is going to be an issue down the tracks when you have more players who've come through a full-time system. What happens after they stop playing.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, Mick, do you want to take that up as well? You want to take that one up?
Yeah, I don't mind saying something about that, guys.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that we need to get it out there as much as we can, and we'll end up engaging the younger players that are playing League of Ireland at the moment, and they'll get to know what's going on. The good thing that happens is that we get people together, ex-players together, the ladies, gents, the whole lot get together, and some people haven't seen each other for a long time, and they're so happy to see each other at different games, and the cup finals were absolutely brilliant for people to get together. And as I said earlier on, this is only kicking off now. And if we can get this up and running, it'll always be there. We may not be there, but it'll always be there for them. And hopefully, down the road, it'll just get bigger and bigger. And all the getting together, the days out on cup final days, any match day, we're hoping that we get to the different games around the country as well, and promoting it. So it's all about the players. I mean, it's happening in every sport, as Martin talked about. It happens in every sport. Because we're ex-players, we got to start looking after each other, and hopefully it'll kick off, and it'll kick off in a huge way. As I say, it's only started, and we need to get it out there as much as we can, and kick the ball, get it going.
Well, the other thing saying about that, Mick, is that, and probably Martin will agree here, where we met up in Limerick. There was a golf outing down there, and the people came from Galway, Waterford, Dublin, all the lads in Dublin and everything else like that. And it was what a day! It was fantastic. It was a fantastic day, Paul. Just meeting them and seeing them and things like that.
Yeah.
And the golf, I couldn't be there myself that day, but the golf went unbelievable, Mark, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And
just to see people again, as you said. Sorry, Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Say there was good laughs as well. You're probably talking to people. Last time I saw you, you were kicking lumps out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That definitely applied to John Manning.
Yeah.
I think football. I think football, Paul, has in Ireland has suffered greatly in more recent years for a whole lot of reasons. And there is healing coming to the game, I think, in many respects, and it'll take, as Mick said, it'll take a bit of time. And I think if you look at the aspirations of the player, let's say the player pathway program, so you're talking about the academies, and Mick and Pat are quite influential out in Shamrock Rovers, still working with young underage teams and blah blah blah, and giving advice to coaches. But so you've you have the players' pathways, right? You have the current players who are playing professional football now in League of Ireland under the auspices of a very well managed PFA under the remit of Stephen McGuinness, and then what we're trying to do is we're trying to be that after career support mechanism. So what you end up with, Paul, is you end up with an ecosystem, a support ecosystem that's supporting young players from literally from cradle to old age. And
brilliant.
A fantastic initiative that's even growing is the walking football for lads who are not even able to run anymore. And there's a lot of lads in their 60s and 70s and well into their 70s, and they're playing walking football. So one of our aims is to become a component, as Pat said earlier, of a whole ecosystem, and let parents realise that eventually, if my Johnny takes up or my Gillian takes up soccer, there's a support mechanism right through the whole life cycle of football, and there's that inclusion, there's those acquaintances that are built, lifelong acquaintances, lifelong friendships, etc., etc. And I think that's a beautiful part of us kind of completing that ecosystem of support. And I think it's an important thing to say as football heals itself in this country and maybe the association starts to right itself.
If we talk about having a proper football industry, which there's never been, we are like there are documents out there discussing how it could happen. I suppose an initiative like this is really, really important for ensuring that an industry can survive, because you don't want something that just goes boom and bust. But that seems to be the way. But League of Ireland is actually doing quite well attendance wise. So, surely that's something that you can capitalise on as well, because a lot of those fellas and girls are sitting in the stands now were former players.
Yeah. I think if you look at a very exciting prospect coming up now in February is the opening meeting between Bowls and Shamrock Rovers. I'm open to correction, Paul, but I believe there's 25,000 tickets sold already for the Aviva, which is just fantastic. So that's a massive occasion to look forward to, and it starts the league off with a real bang, and hopefully the momentum of that opening fixture will carry right through in terms of the enthusiasm, new fans gain, and a new way that people can look at League of Ireland soccer.
And have you spoken to current managers of clubs? You might have players that are kind of coming towards the end, and would you be kind of saying how you might be able to help them or support them or try to point them in the pathway as regards for their players when they're coming towards the end of their career?
Well, Mick, do you want to take up the last year of the PFA thing, looking after their players for one more year?
Sorry, Martin, say that again.
The situation where the PFA would look after a player for only one more year after their career finishes.
Yeah, I don't know too much about the PFA and the things, but I do believe that our benevolent fund will carry on it as long as we're running it and the people that are around us are joining in. It'll go for a long time, and as you said, it's after they finish now, and players don't just finish at 34, 38. Like some players finish at 25 or something because they get a bad injury and stuff like that. So we still be looking after them as well. Mm-hmm. So it's there's kids playing in the League of Ireland at 17 and 18 years of age, and once they play for a period of time, I think it's a 5-year period that they'll be getting looked after, and there'll be certain circumstances where they may have not. That somebody's career might be gone after 2 years for a really bad injury. So, but we'd have to be looking after them as well. But I think down the road, it's going to be huge for us, for ex players and any players that have fallen into like a bad injury or something like that we'll be able to look after them. As I say, it's early doors yet now since we started. We're into it. I think a year in next month. I think we're a year into this setting it up. But I do believe that it's going to take another year, another two to really get it up and running and get it the right word. We're bringing in people that have a lot of knowledge about different things that's going on in the world, like, especially with the doctors and people like that, and then people that are in insurance and stuff like that. So
Right.
we need to touch base with all those people and get together and make it the best benevolent fund that's out there.
Yeah, it sounds really good. And for our viewers out there, is there anything you have coming up in the next little while?
Leave that to Martin there. Go ahead, Martin.
Could you repeat that, Paul?
Sorry,
Anything?
Martin. Is there
What
anything
we-
that
Yeah,
is there
what we-
anything that your benevolent association has coming up in the next couple of months that our viewers should keep an eye out for?
Well, yeah, there is a very exciting event towards the end of April, which we have to absolutely secure the day. But in April, we have the wonderful coming together of the legendary triumvirate of John Giles, Liam Brady, and Eamon Dunphy.
Wow.
The ex-RTE panel, and we'll be bringing them to Vicar Street in Dublin for a one-off event, which we feel will be a sellout, given the popularity of the three lads, and that's going to take place in April, towards the end of April. The date to be absolutely nailed down, but it's a definite happening event, and that's going to be very, very exciting for all of us in the association.
Yes, sounds absolutely brilliant. And sure, the three lads, they're box office, so you know that should do extremely well.
If people were interested, Paul, in that event, we will be pushing it and publicising it quite strongly on social media. So if they looked out for it, over the next couple of weeks, we'll be releasing the details of it. And just to keep an eye out on the likes of Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and places like that.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Sounds great, because it's, as I said, you are dealing with some very, difficult situations at times, and helping people on transitions in life, which, can take time, but there's important the social element, because I'm sure you have your own kind of basic numbers database done now, but your potential to grow as regards getting, more players in other areas, like if we take, even for example, Kilkenny, for example, that had a League of Ireland club for over 20 years. Pat, you managed them. Areas like here, that's have a history, ex-players that may think this might be something I'd be interested in, get involved, become an associate member or something like that. Just as a good way to kind of get in touch and keep in touch with old friends.
Yeah.
Well, what I've been really, really happy about is that people we haven't seen for years, when we set this up, there's other people that have come on board over the last few months, and great people, absolutely unbelievable, just willing to give their time free, for anything that we want to do. And it's been a great group of people, hasn't it, boys? It's been great lads to work with.
Remarkable.
The enthusiasm that they show when they come in is just unbelievable. They want to do anything. Like, we hope to do bucket collections. We hope to do. We're going to have golf days out. We hope to have one in Dublin, one in Galway. I think that's Galway's more or less confirmed, isn't it? already.
Yeah, towards September.
And there's a lot of work goes into these type of things, but the lads don't mind. They just get stuck in, and whatever makes a few quid, we'll do it.
Exactly. And Pat, I suppose me being me and being the former Kilkenny City fan that I was, I can't escape the opportunity just to talk to you about your time in Kilkenny. You had 2 seasons there in charge of Kilkenny City. You got the club promoted. It was a very, very tumultuous season. You were docked points. You were banned from the touchline. You were banned from entering the dressing room. You were banned from.
I don't think it lasts much.
You resigned, then you came back, and it was a crazy time, but a really exciting time.
It was, and Jim Rattigan and people like that down there, they were fabulous. And,
Yeah.
I loved working down there. I really did. It was great times. We were a bit successful, and I know we had things didn't turn out at the end, but I loved every minute we've been down there. It was great, and it broke my heart to see them, not being in the league anymore, because it's such a pity, because the people down there love their football and they love their sports in general anyway.
Yeah.
But they love their football, and I've only had great memories being down there. Great times.
Of course,
Sorry, bro.
You gave a young David Mulcahy his start in the League of Ireland, and did you think he would go on and play for 20 years?
No, what a lad! But his attitude was fantastic.
Yeah, what a player.
Yeah, what a player. Yeah, what a player. But he was one of many, and the lads that put the jersey on, they really played for the club, and it was never about money because we didn't have much. It was always about no, we didn't have much. So it was just about playing the club, doing your best you could, and we were very successful. Well, we were successful, and with great times and great memories.
And the club got promoted, and it was a bit of a struggle then.
Yeah.
After that, what would have been your reasons behind resigning? Was it the events of the previous year had just kind of worn you out, or
it was taking its toll?
Other things.
Yeah, it was taking its toll, and clean that. And then I wasn't doing helping the club either. Sometimes when I'd be kind of too, referees and things like that. So it wasn't great. It was just my desire to win and do well and things like that. Kind of went over the edge sometime and probably wasn't right, but it was just I just felt I had to go and I would leave it to somebody else, because I felt it was as far as I could go with the lads, so but it was a pity. It was a sad time, but I really, really enjoyed my time down there, and I'll never forget it.
My highlight was when we beat Cork City in Turner's Cross in the FAI Cup. And Michael Curley scored a penalty. It was like,
it's unbelievable.
That was an unbelievable result.
It was one of the best results I had with the lads, and it was the first time we actually went away and stayed overnight because it was great. And we had a chat and we had a thing. And next day, the lads we kind of formed a plan, and it worked. It worked fantastic, And
it was kind of like it was a great springboard for the rest of the season.
Yeah, it was great, and to do it down there in Cork as well, the way they were playing at the time, was fantastic. But every player that day did their job to the T, So it was great.
Oh, great times, happy times. And I'd like to say thank you for.
Well, thank you for being
able to give those to the people of Kilkenny. That was absolutely massive. So as time is nearly up against us, but if people want to find out more about the work you're doing, how can they do so?
Martin,
they can go on the website, the www.IPFBA.com. So that's the www.IPFBA, which is the Irish Professional Footballers Benevolent Association.com. But it's just the initials, IPFBA.com. And we post upcoming events, different things, lots of information, You've a presentation on there about the association. People can learn about what we're doing, who's involved, all of that sort of stuff. So there's a good lot of information on the website and social media as well. We're pretty prominent on particularly Facebook. And so yeah, anybody interested in the association, sponsoring the association, attending events, get in touch and the email's address, the contact page is there, to make contact. Paul, if I might just say,
floor, George.
You were talking to Pat about Kilkenny City there.
Yeah.
It just for it to be stated here on this podcast, there is a massive goodwill.
Absolutely, I agree with you 100%.
By football people, that Kilkenny would make a reappearance at some level, whether it be this new third division. So let it be known. Let's say from a different angle, in football, there's a great warmth, towards football in Kilkenny, and just to say that because we're on a Kilkenny related podcast, and
exactly,
that the local community would know that there's a massive warmth towards soccer returning at senior level in Kilkenny.
Please God, it'll happen in the near future. And
sorry, Paul. Is Jim Madigan still around? Is he?
Yeah, Jim is still knocking around, still hale and hearty. Yeah.
Yeah, say hello to him for me, please.
I will, of course.
Thank you very much. And all the other people,
I will, absolutely,
Thank you.
And and Martin, if says we should probably say this earlier in the program, if say a former player comes to you with an issue, be it whatever it may be it education, be it health related, or everything is all treated in the strictest of confidence.
Absolutely, yeah. Just complete confidence, and only the related specialist people would really know about it, Paul. That's the key thing. And we outlined an assessment process at a medical level with the likes of Dr. Alan Byrne. So that's all confidential. And it would be only people at that level would be able to access any information in relation to a request. That would be on the medical, more personal, maybe mental health side of things. If it's back to education, which we would eventually be doing, possibly at a more futuristic date. You're probably talking about a more kind of open, generalized plan in conjunction with maybe in association with the universities, etc., and a program that people can sign up to, and that can be more open-ended, and the people they're just taking up an offer of being able to go back to education, so but anything medical, anything related to more personalized medical, psychosocial, mental, that would be very, very, very confidential. Absolutely.
The Irish political roundup of the main Ireland podcast. It's been really, really fascinating chatting to you all. You're all three legends of the sport of soccer or football in this country within the League of Ireland. Especially great chat to you, Pat, given your past connections.
Thanks, Paul. Thank you very much. Thank you.
But gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure. And as Martin said there, if people want to find out more about the Professional Footballers Benevolent Fund, all the details are there on social media. So, gentlemen, thanks a million for taking the time to chat to us this evening.
Thanks, Paul. Thank you very much, Dave. Thank you.
Take care.
Cheers, lads.
Thanks very much.